On the 26th of January 2026, the silence between London and California didn't just break, it shattered. For years, the world has watched a slow-motion car crash of interviews, docuseries, and icy glares framing it as a mere family dispute. But as of this morning, that narrative is dead. This is no longer a tabloid drama. It is a constitutional reckoning. We have received intelligence regarding a confidential diplomatic channel initiated by Buckingham Palace that changes absolutely everything. King Charles III, in a move unprecedented in modern history, has drawn a line in the sand. The offer is brutal, the terms are non-negotiable, and the timeline is suffocating. Prince Harry has been given exactly 30 days to make the single hardest decision of his life: initiate a divorce from Meghan Markle and return to the fold or face total irreversible exile from the House of Windsor. The clock isn't just ticking, it's running out. The sequence of events began on the 9th of January 2026. While the world was distracted by usual celebrity gossip, a black diplomatic vehicle arrived at the secured gates of the Sussex residence in Montecito, California. Inside was Lord Alderton, the king's private secretary and the man entrusted with the monarchy's most sensitive secrets. He wasn't there for tea. He was personally escorting an 11-page document that palace insiders are calling the end of the road. According to leaks from within the Sussex staff, Lord Alderton waited inside the compound for nearly an hour, while Harry took the document to a private room to read it alone. The mood in the house wasn't angry. It was described as somber, like witnessing the end of a dynasty. This wasn't a handwritten note from a father asking for a call. This was an institutionally ratified ultimatum. The terms laid out in those pages are shocking in their specificity. Harry is required to legally dissolve his marriage under both US and UK jurisdictions. But the king didn't stop there. He is demanding that Harry agree to a formal period of monitored reintegration. This isn't a hero's welcome. If Harry returns, he does so as a non-representative royal. He keeps the title of prince, but he loses the Royal Highness styling, the patronages, and the security entitlements until a special board, the Royal Standards and Conduct Council, decides he has earned them back. And who is overseeing this probation? A triad of the toughest figures in the monarchy: Princess Anne, the enforcer of discipline, Sir Nigel Pembridge, the constitutional expert, and Lady Eleanor Havisham of the Ethics Board. They will be watching everything: his public statements, his private conduct, and even the educational stability of his children. This process has no end date. It could take months. It could take decades. But here is the kicker. If Harry refuses, if he ignores this letter, the consequences are final. He will be removed from the line of succession. Every title, Duke of Sussex, Earl of Dumbarton, Baron Kilkeel, will be revoked. He will be evicted from the symbolic registry of Frogmore, stripped of heraldic rights, and banned from all royal funerals, jubilees, and coronations. He becomes effectively a ghost. You might be wondering why, after years of tolerance, has the king decided to drop the hammer with such force? The answer lies in the second half of that 11-page letter. The tone shifts from a sorrowful father to a scrutinizing monarch. Charles outlines point by point how Harry has violated the Codex Conductor Regalis, the royal code of conduct. This isn't about hurt feelings. It's about breach of contract. The king cites the Megxit announcement in 2020 as a violation of Section 2, Subpart A, unilaterally altering official status without council approval. He points to the Netflix and Spotify deals valued at over $100 million as a direct violation of the ban on monetizing inherited status. The letter is scathing, accusing the couple of selling access to private royal memories, while claiming to want privacy. But the emotional core of the letter addresses the betrayal of trust. Charles references the attacks made in Spare and the interviews where Harry described William as violent and Charles as emotionally cold. The king writes, "What we whisper at Sandringham should not become content for California." Perhaps the most damaging revelation is the snap point. We've learned that the origins of this ultimatum trace back to a secret 50-minute meeting in September 2025 at Clarence House. Charles had proposed a reconciliation pathway then, but he had one condition: Meghan could not be part of the institutional future. Harry reportedly refused, outright stating, "I am a husband first, not a prince." That was the moment the olive branches stopped and the Iron Gate came down. Charles realized that as long as the Sussex brand existed, the monarchy was under threat. As one official brutally put it, "You are either in or out. You cannot monetize the gray zone." While King Charles penned the letter with the sorrow of a father, we need to talk about the invisible ink on the page, the influence of Prince William. Palace sources confirm that while the ultimatum carries the king's signature, the strictness of the terms carries William's fingerprints. This is a critical distinction that changes the entire landscape for Harry. For years, Harry believed that his father was the soft target, the sentimental old man who would eventually cave to see his darling boy again. But Harry forgot about the heir. According to insiders within Kensington Palace, Prince William has taken what is being described as an Iron Duke stance. During the consultation period before this letter was sent, it was reportedly William who insisted on the non-negotiable nature of the exile. Why? Because William is no longer looking at Harry as a brother. He is looking at him as a liability to the crown he will one day wear. Sources say William was the one who pushed for the inclusion of the reintegration auditors. He knows Harry better than anyone. He knows that Harry acts on impulse. William's fear, and it is a valid one, is that Harry might divorce Meghan, return to the UK, and then 6 months later get bored or angry and sell the story of his royal recovery to the highest bidder. The trust between the brothers is not just broken, it is pulverized. A particularly telling detail from the transcript reveals that William has refused to speak to Harry directly throughout this 30-day period. He has effectively blocked all back-channel communication. This is a strategic blockade. William is ensuring that Harry cannot emotionally manipulate the situation. If Harry wants back in, he has to go through the lawyers, the auditors, and the protocol. The days of brotherhood protecting him are over. As one courtier whispered, the king wants his son back, but the Prince of Wales wants the threat neutralized. So how is this landing behind the high walls of Riven Rock? If the reports are true, the Sussex household is in a state of total lockdown. But contrary to the United Front, we usually see the reaction inside is fractured. Sources close to Harry describe him as haunted. He's reportedly stopped sleeping, seen walking the gardens at 3 a.m., wrestling with a choice that no man should have to make. The king's letter included a line that seems to have cut him to the bone. "You say I did not hold you enough when you cried. Perhaps that's true, but I am holding you now, not in arms, but in consequence." That isn't just an order. That is a father saying goodbye. Meghan's reaction, however, is described very differently. Insiders claim she is furious, calculating, and terrified. She views this not as a family reckoning, but as a strategic attack designed to frame her as the villain who cost Harry his birthright. She reportedly told a former publicist, "If Harry caves, they get everything they want. If he doesn't, I lose him." And let's be real about the elephant in the room money. The timing of this ultimatum is precise. The Sussexes are currently facing a severe cash flow strain. The Spotify deal was terminated in 2024. The Netflix partnership has been renegotiated to a project-by-project basis with no guaranteed millions. Meanwhile, their overhead is massive. We're talking about an estimated $83,000 per month just to keep the lights on the staff paid and the security running at their Montecito mansion. Court documents suggest there are payment warnings from vendors and stalled negotiations with Tyler Perry regarding the refinancing of their home. Charles knows this. He knows that without the royal titles, Harry and Meghan are, as one economist put it, a brand with no engine. If Harry is cut off the global speaking fees, the book deals and the red carpet invites dry up. Meghan is backed into a corner. She can't afford to lose Harry, but she also can't afford for him to return to the UK alone. But the king is playing 4D chess. While the public focus is on Harry, there is a confidential section of the letter addressed specifically to Meghan Markle. This is the hidden clause that changes the entire dynamic of the negotiation. Charles has offered Meghan a way out, a golden parachute, if you will. According to sources, the king has outlined a scenario where if Meghan agrees to a non-litigious quiet divorce, the crown will provide a one-time grant rumored to be in the region of $34 million. This money is designated for resettlement and legal fees, but the strings attached are made of steel. She would have to sign a formal letter renouncing all future use of royal titles. She would have to agree to never publish memoirs or docuseries about her time in the monarchy. In exchange, she gets to keep primary custody of Archie and Lilibet in California, provided Harry has access. The Crown would essentially agree not to destroy her reputation if she agrees to stop trying to destroy theirs. Charles writes in his own hand, "I offer not punishment, but closure. Let our children not be taught to fight ghosts for the rest of their lives." This puts Meghan in an impossible bind. If she takes the deal, she walks away rich but irrelevant. If she fights it, she risks a total war with an institution that has centuries of experience in crushing dissent. Insiders say she is torn some days she wants to fight, other days she realizes she is out of leverage. The days of Oprah interviews are over. The public is fatigued. She has to decide if she wants to be the woman who fought the king or the woman who was smart enough to cash out. There is another layer to this high-stakes poker game that explains why Meghan is currently huddled with crisis PR specialists in Beverly Hills. It's the battle of the leak. You have to ask yourself, how do we know the specific contents of this confidential letter? The transcript mentions that the language was partially leaked by a source within the Sussex household. This is a classic Sussex maneuver, but this time it might have backfired spectacularly. Analysts believe Meghan's team likely leaked the ultimatum details to test public opinion, hoping the world would see Charles as a cruel, controlling monarch forcing a man to abandon his wife. They were banking on a wave of sympathy. But look at the comments section. Look at the polls. The sympathy isn't coming. Instead, the public reaction has been one of exhausted agreement with the king. The narrative has shifted from poor Harry to finally some boundaries. This leaves Meghan with one terrifying nuclear option. If Harry leaves, what stops her from burning the house down on her way out? We are talking about the ultimate tell-all. Not a vague Netflix documentary, but a book that names names, exposes private conversations, and details the medical and personal secrets of the royal family. King Charles is acutely aware of this threat. That is why the reintegration terms for Harry are so aggressive regarding legal jurisdiction. The king's lawyers are trying to close the spousal privilege loophole. If they divorce, the palace wants to ensure that Harry cannot be subpoenaed to testify against his own family in any future lawsuits Meghan might launch. This is the hidden legal nightmare. The palace isn't just negotiating a divorce. They are negotiating a silence treaty. They are trying to buy Meghan's silence with the $34 million settlement, but they are also preparing for the possibility that she goes rogue. It is a game of mutually assured destruction. If she reveals their secrets, they have the power to reveal hers, specifically the findings of the bullying investigation that the palace buried in 2022. That report is the sword hanging over Meghan's head, and Charles just put his hand on the hilt. Amidst all this legal warfare and financial posturing, there are two people who have no say in the matter: Archie and Lilibet. This is perhaps the most heartbreaking part of the entire revelation. Section 5 of the King's Ultimatum is titled Future of the Windsor Line. It makes the status of the children conditional on Harry's choice. As it stands, Archie and Lilibet are the only grandchildren of a reigning monarch born outside the UK, unbaptized in the Church of England, and raised entirely outside the royal fold. Charles proposes that if Harry returns, the children will be granted full dignity. They would attend prestigious schools like Marlborough College, receive royal security, and play symbolic roles in future coronations and jubilees. They would know their heritage. But if Harry refuses, the king is prepared to issue a formal decree declaring them private citizens. No titles, no succession rights, no access to the royal trust funds. They would be erased from the ceremonial record books. Prince William has privately expressed deep concern about this. He fears the psychological toll on two children who will grow up knowing they were almost royalty, only to be cut off. He worries about the resentment they will feel toward the family they never met. The palace is also terrified of the children becoming content. There is talk of a Child Image Protection Act, a new protocol designed to legally prevent Harry and Meghan from using the children in reality TV or branded content. The monarchy is terrified that in 10 years we'll be watching a show about exiled royals, and they are moving to block that possibility now. As we stare down the barrel of these final days, we have to understand the psychological torture Prince Harry is currently enduring. This isn't just about geography, it's about identity. For 5 years, Harry has built his entire persona around being the rebel prince, the man who prioritized freedom over duty. He burned bridges because he thought he could build a new castle in America. But the castle is made of sand, and the tide is coming in. If he chooses Meghan, he accepts that he will never set foot on a royal balcony again. He accepts that he will never wear a military uniform again, a loss that sources say hurts him more than anything else. He accepts that he will fade into the background of Hollywood celebrity, just another famous face at a dinner party, stripping away the mystique that makes him valuable. But if he chooses his father, he has to admit he was wrong. He has to walk back into the palaces he criticized, look the men in the eye who he called trapped, and submit to their rules. He has to admit that the freedom flight was a failure. That is a level of humiliation that breaks men. The transcript describes Harry walking the garden at 3 a.m. alone. That image haunts me. It's the image of a man realizing that both paths lead to pain. We are witnessing the final act of a tragedy that began the day he left. The 26th of January is not just a date on a calendar. It is the death of the Sussex era. Whether it ends with a divorce filing or a permanent exile order, one thing is certain: the Harry we knew is gone. The king has offered a bridge, but it is a narrow, rickety bridge back to a life of service and silence. Meghan offers a spotlight, but it's a spotlight that is rapidly dimming. Harry has 30 days. The world is waiting, and the silence from Montecito is getting louder by the second. What would you do if you were him? Would you take the $34 million and the freedom? Or would you take the duty and the history? This is the debate of the decade. Drop your verdict in the comments. Team Crown or Team Sussex? And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because when the clock hits 0 on the 26th, we will be the first to break the news of his decision.